Green REIT reported a sharp increase in annual profits, surging 21%. Rental income also increased from the same period last year, rising by 19%. Pat Gunne is the CEO of Green REIT. He joins us around the desk. Pat, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeff.
Welcome. So just bring us up to speed. What's current trading like at the moment?
So it's very good. The rental profits, which is the best measure to the underlying profits, is up by, on a like-for-like, 22%. Valuations are continuing to increase against the yields compressing. So the interest rate environment has been very favourable. Obviously, we're watching the 10-year rate on the bond side with keen interest. Foreign direct investment has been really strong. Last year's take-up was 3.6 million square feet, which is about 25–30% ahead of the record year back in 2007. And you got to think that at least some of that is Brexit related.
Share some thinking with us about how you and the rest of the board are looking at the prospect of higher nominal and real rates from here.
Well, I suppose if you go back to the last time we spoke at the interims, which 12 months ago, we had a positive yield gap of about 420 basis points between our prime yield and the sovereign 10-year. The Irish 10-year sovereign was at about 50 basis points. That's now creeping up to 120. Even August, the 10-year US was at 2, it's now at 3. If you go back to 2015 on the interest rate cycle, there was a disconnect between the bond cycle and property yields, where bond yields kept declining and property rates, and this is right across Europe and indeed the States, they kind of flatlined. So we've got quite a decent level of compression or level of insurance there, but it's condensed from 420 basis points when we spoke at our last set of interims to 280 basis points as we stand today, with our 10-year up at 1.2%. So we feel we still have a bit of margin there, but if the European rate cycle matches the US rate cycle and we do get the inflationary pressures and the curve comes back into its normal pattern, well then we're not going to have that level of support, and we're going to be more reliant on the rental side and delivering the development profits.
Speaking of the rental side, can I just jump into one component in some of these buildings? Most of them have some form of retail exposure down the bottom, and that's sort of been a structure you've seen a lot of commercial properties adopt. What's changing though? Because we're getting the sense that a lot of these stores that were big to build out, the likes of an H&M and a Zara, might not be so willing to be expanding the footprint at this size because we've got disruption coming from the online side. So what's happening in the space on rental incomes and pricings of new contracts, for instance, as a result?
Yeah, it's an excellent point, and it's very key, not just to our portfolio, but to real estate in general. It's obviously a very topical issue, Karen. I suppose we made the decision back in 2015 to be net sellers of retail. So that's turned out to be a good decision. And when you look at our latest development on Molesworth Street, which is one of our flagship developments, it was originally earmarked for retail on the ground floor, and we've just secured the Ivy restaurant, Le Caprice Holdings, in. So you do have some movement, but definitely the online pressures are driving rents downwards on the rental side. And the latest figures from Irish internet sales is that about 60% of the figures going through on the internet are actually going overseas, predominantly to the UK, not even into the Irish retailers' pockets. So it's going to continue to be a serious theme going forward.
It's your HQ as well, isn't it, 32 Molesworth?
We're on 32 Molesworth Street, but the building that we're talking about there is number 1, Steve. So we'll welcome you and all at CNBC over to the
do you know what?
opening.
I love that part of town. You know, I mean, so there's a lot going on around there as well. But I'm just looking. Do you know, it's funny if I put Molesworth Street on the map as well. You've got St Stephen's Green there. You've got Trinity College, just slap bang in the middle as well. This is prime Dublin as well. 95% of your portfolio is Dublin as well. Look, I love Dublin. You know I do. It's a great town. You and I have seen each other on the street there previously as well. Okay. Fact is, it's not that big. Are you running out of property?
You always have a go at me on this. I was waiting for you. I was waiting for you to come at me. Yeah, we've got a vacancy rate of about 6%.
Right.
The big constraining factor is on the residential side, Steve, where we just can't keep up with the level of inward migration, household formation, and we've got a very young population.
I get it.
So,
it's a fantastic place.
Yeah,
but
no, it's great. But
so
as you say,
build new? Where's the brownfield? Where's the greenfield?
Well, we do have quite a decent amount of volume of space under construction on the office side. So we've got about 7.5% of our total stock, which is second only to Luxembourg in terms of percentage of stock under development still at risk. But again, if you ask me the same question on the residential side, which is not our area, I would say that it's a serious constraining factor. And you know, it's no different to Amsterdam or Frankfurt or any of the cities that we're competing against in a Brexit environment, where you do have constraints in all of those competing cities.
So there's no particular constraints you see in capacity in Dublin compared with others?
Well, I definitely do see constraints on the residential side. Residential infrastructure and education, and Fine Gael have just, our incumbent government, have just put out their latest plan, which is a 2040 plan with an expected capital expenditure of about 116 billion. Now, it's over 22 years and many cycles. Who knows how that's going to play out? But the government are addressing it. They're aware of the constraints, particularly on the residential side, and they've got support at political level to drive that capex home.
Pat, can I ask you about politics and whether politics is getting in the way of business in Ireland, dual issues with the government, and then Brexit around whether the Irish border has truly been sold with Northern Ireland? Is any of this sort of cropping up in the day-to-day around whether businesses are willing to make decisions because of clarity?
Yeah, decisions are being made, and even on the foreign direct investment side, where you've got the added complication around taxation policy in the US, because a lot of our FDI is driven from the US. Decisions are being made, the unemployment rate has continued to drive down, and ultimately, you know, we're all watching Brexit with fascination, and I could think of many other words, but hopefully it will play out and sense will prevail. It's quite worrying at the moment, but it's worrying for Ireland, it's worrying for the UK, and it's worrying for Europe. So we just got to wait and get through this period of uncertainty. And a bit like what Seema was saying on Rocky Road, I suspect you can take the economics application through to the political world at the moment.
We're going to leave it there.
Thank you,
nice
Steve.
to see you. Always
Lovely
a pleasure,
to see you.
mate.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very
Look forward
much.
to seeing you in Dublin.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too long.
17th of March.
Yeah. Oh no, that's Twickenham, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think the score's going to be?
Well, look.
Are you there,
I
Twickenham?
don't know. We will be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah, we will be there. We'll meet up. I hope we get there, but I think Ireland playing on English soil is never particularly promising. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe only like 30-15, something like
that.
Yeah. Pat, looking forward to it. Pat Gunne, CEO of Green REIT. Coming.